Hi, happy Pride Month, and thanks for clicking on this video. I've been making videos about queer stuff for a while now, and over the time I've gotten quite a few questions about different topics, but the topics I definitely get asked about the most is coming out. Okay, apart from my genitals and my sex life and but I don't count that. So I thought Pride Month would be a good time to dedicate a whole video to this topic since it seems to be important to a lot of people. The past years I've been getting a lot of messages that were like, hey Ans, I think I'm trans or queer or whatever, but I don't know how to come out, what should I do? And yeah, what am I supposed to say? Sorry to break it to you, but there's no such thing as the perfect way to come out. Yeah, sorry about the title. But honestly, there's no universal recipe for a coming out. Every situation, every experience is different, and the person who knows your specific situation the best is probably you and not some stranger on the internet. So as much as I'd like to pull out a perfect plan for you, I can't. But of course I've also been in these situations, so I guess there is at least some advice I can give you from my own experience, but remember that it's very subjective and your experience might and probably will look completely different, and that's okay. But I guess here are Jan's totally subjective coming out tips. First is, make sure you're ready. Sounds a little stupid, but I mean it. Sometimes when you're in the middle of figuring out your identity, maybe discovering a new label that might fit for you, you feel a sudden urge to come out immediately. I totally get that. It can feel so weird to be thinking about this topic so much that it has already become an important part of your life, but no one of the people in your life knows about it. And sometimes a more spontaneous coming out can work perfectly fine. But I've also had a couple of situations where I felt like I came out too soon and I regretted it afterwards, or I rather regretted how I came out to these people. Also, being out can be connected to a lot of negative things as well. I'm not even talking about the big discrimination stuff here because that's a separate point, but I'm talking about smaller things like weird questions or uncomfortable conversations and stuff like that. So maybe consider that and ask yourself, am I ready for people to know this? Am I comfortable enough in my identity yet? You don't have to be entirely sure about everything yet, but I think it's definitely helpful to already have considered something so you know how to handle other people's reaction. Number 2, start small. You don't need to tell everyone at once. I personally think it's best to start with one or a couple of people who you trust and who you think will react positively. It doesn't matter who that person is, might be your best friend or your parents or I don't know, your teacher or whatever, someone you feel comfortable with sharing this. For me, my very first coming out had a huge impact on all the other times I came out after that, so you want this to be good. And having a person you already came out to can be very helpful to feel less alone, because this way you'll have someone to talk to, and from there you can just take it step by step. And in case another coming out doesn't go that well, you'll have someone who, I don't know, can be there for you. 3, be safe. Coming out can be a great relief and a big step towards being more comfortable in your identity, but please be careful and don't put yourself in danger. I hate that I have to say this, but unfortunately there are still many places and people who don't accept LGBTQ people, and sometimes for your own safety it's better to stay in the closet. It's horrible and absolutely not your fault, but it's the reality we live in, so please take care of yourself. And if you do choose to come out to someone who might react negatively, make sure you have a place to go and a person to talk to. For example, if you plan to come out to homo or transphobic parents and you're worried that they might kick you out or something, find a friend or someone else you can stay with just to be safe. And if you don't have someone like that, maybe look up if there's another place where you can somehow get help. That sounds like I'm telling you to go to conversion therapy. I don't mean that. Luckily, I've never been in this situation, so I can't give you any advice on how to deal with this, but to everyone who's going through this, I hope it will get better and things will sort out for you. 4, you don't have to come out. If you feel like it wouldn't be safe for you, or you just don't want to because you don't feel ready, or you don't want to deal with all of this coming out drama for some reason, it's okay to choose to stay in the closet. Coming out is often portrayed as this obligatory step in the life of every single LGBTQ person, I guess because we don't know of the ones who never come out at all. But it doesn't need to be. It doesn't make you less valid as a queer person if you don't come out. That's your decision and no one else's business. But as someone who has come out, obviously, I have to say that I personally couldn't have lived like this. For me, coming out was necessary. It was one of the first steps to becoming myself, and it had something empowering for me. Especially because it enabled me to become a part of the community and meet people with similar experiences. And to be completely honest, I personally for myself cannot imagine how you could lead a completely happy and fulfilling life as a queer person and never come out for your entire life. But I also don't think that I have to fully understand it. Just because coming out was the right thing for me, it doesn't mean that it is for you. So please don't let anyone pressure you into coming out if it's not what you want to do. And obviously there are also people who don't make coming out some special event, but who just wait for people to notice themselves. I've also done that a couple of times because sometimes people just don't need to know every single aspect about you, and it would be kind of weird to tell them, and in case it ever becomes relevant, you can still tell them or they'll just notice, I guess. Falls du noch nicht Bescheid wusstest, ne, ich bin trans. Ja. I mean, at least when it's about your sexual orientation, like in an ideal world, people wouldn't give a fuck about who you're attracted to. Obviously, it's a little different for trans people because in that case you often need to tell people in order for them to treat you the way you feel comfortable. But even then, like, I don't feel the need to tell everyone, I don't know, in my class or something that I'm trans, because why would they care? 5. Don't expect too much. Sometimes you imagine exactly how you will come out and have it all planned out in your head, but things will probably not go as planned. And even though I just explained why coming out was good for me, the way coming out scenarios often get romanticized is not very realistic. The coming out itself was very often not an entirely positive experience for me because people almost never reacted the way I wanted them to. And I used to think that this was because I didn't come out to people the right way. Like, for example, I came out to my family in a group chat, which might have not been the best idea, yes, but it was the only way I could get myself to do it back then, and I can't change it anymore, so there's no use in complaining about it all the time. But even if I had done it differently, they probably wouldn't have reacted as I wanted them to. So don't be too disappointed if your coming out doesn't go perfectly. That's normal. It's all going to work out, and with the people who are really important, you're going to have more conversations in the future. Not every important conversation needs to happen immediately after the coming out talk. 6. This won't be the last time you come out. I guess we all know this, but we live in a hetero and cis-normative world, which means that coming out never stops. There will be so many situations where you meet new people and you have to decide whether to come out to them or not. I mean, binary trans people who pass can choose to live stealth and this way avoid coming out at a certain point, but even then there are still things like doctor's appointments where you simply can't avoid it. And for many other queer people, their bare existence is already a coming out. But to end this on a little more positive note, I can tell you, it gets a little easier. At least for me it did, because over the years you just get more and more used to coming out, and by now I have these typical phrases I always use because they usually work very well and help people to understand what I'm telling them, and that makes it a lot easier. Of course, I still have situations that are incredibly uncomfortable, and these will probably never go away completely, but the more experience you get, the better you get at explaining certain things. So yeah, I guess these awkward situations just become normal at some point, and of course they're still awkward, but you learn to live with it. I think that's everything I can say about this. As I said, everyone's experience is different, but I hope this video was still helpful to some people. If that's the case, I'd be happy if you maybe liked it or subscribed to my channel or watched this video. And yeah, then I'd say happy Pride Month, have a good day, take care of yourself, and take a shower because it's really fucking hot in here. There's a lot of leg hair on my laptop, like, how did that happen? Might have spilled some tester gel on my laptop and now it's growing body hair.